Hi everyone, myself Bharat J, lecturer in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Government Polytechnic, Bantwala. I welcome you all for the fourth session of Professional Practices course of 5th semester Mechanical Engineering program. As you all know, so far we have discussed in the previous sessions that this is a student activity based course and hence each of you have to involve and participate actively and attentively. In this session, we will discuss about activity 1, that is information search and data collection. This activity inculcates within you the skill of searching the information, collecting the data and presenting it effectively. This will help you out in your professional career. Hence, dear students, be attentive, be focused, involve yourself and perform the activity positively and honestly. Your participation is very much required and very much important in the course of professional practice. To begin with, let us discuss about what information search and data collection is about. Information search and data collection is a process of searching the information related to a topic and acquire the knowledge of contemporary issues related to advancements in the mechanical engineering field. The information search process is a six-stage process of information seeking behavior. The information search process was first suggested by Carol Koholtov. She is Carol Koholtov. She is a retired American educator, researcher, and international speaker on learning in school libraries, information literacy, and information seeking behavior. Let us discuss about different stages of information search and data collection activity. In the first stage is initiation. In this stage, you have to think of certain topics. You may come across many of the topics and you have to think of those topics and you have to discuss among your friends about the topics. In this stage, the information seeker recognizes the need for new information to complete an assignment. As you think about the topics, you may discuss the topics with others and brainstorm the topics further. In the second stage, this is selection stage. In the first stage, you have discussed about some of the topics that have been come to your mind. You have to select one among them which is of your interest. In the second stage, the individual begins to decide what topic will be investigated and how to proceed. The third stage is exploration stage. In this stage, after selecting a particular topic, you have to begin exploration. That means you have to begin collecting the information about that topic. In this stage, information on the topic is gathered and new personal knowledge is created. In the fourth stage, that is formulation stage, you have to evaluate the information that you have collected in the exploration stage. That means you have to evaluation means you have to think about whether the collected information is sufficient and whether the collected information is right or not. At this point, a focused perspective begins to form and there is not much as confusion and uncertainty as in the earlier stages. Here you are going to evaluate the information collected by yourself. If the information collected is not sufficient, if you think the information that is collected by you is not sufficient, in the fifth stage you have to collect some more information. In this stage, the information seeker knows what is needed to support the focus. The information seeker will experience greater interest, increased confidence and more successful searching. And in the last stage, that is a closer stage, up to this you have already searched, you have already selected the topic, you have searched the information about the topic and you have collected relative data about the topic. In this stage, in the closer stage, this is the sixth and final stage, the individual has to complete the information search. Now, the information seeker will summarize and report on the information that was found through the process. The information seeker will experience a sense of relief at this stage because you have already completed all the stages and this is the final stage. You will find some sense of relief after this stage. To begin with, after selecting some data, after selecting some topic for your activity, you have to ask yourself some WH questions, that is how, why, where, why and when. you need to find the answer for these questions. You need to try to find the answers for these questions. The information will be provided or information will be obtained by answering these questions. Answer for this question. How to get the answer for this question? There are tools to get the answers for this question. There are tools to get the information for the topic that you have selected. The first thing is manufacturer catalog. Suppose we have selected a product as a topic. Then you need to collect the information and the data of that product. Each and every manufacturer will have a product catalog. You have to go through that product catalog in order to get the information and data pertaining to that product. So if you select a topic as a product as a topic, then you need to go through the manufacturer catalog and also some of the websites and web search engines. You need to go to some web search engines and you have to search the data or information regarding your selected topic. You will get so many data, you will get so many information in these web search engines. For example, Google is there, Bingo is there, ask.com is there, yahoo.com is there. You can go to any of these web search engine and you can search the information about the topic. Next is technical magazines. There are number of technical magazines around the world. You can get within your hand touch. There is technical magazines. You can access these technical magazines. Go through these technical magazines and collect the information, required information about your topic. And next thing is technical papers. Actually, these are the papers published in various conferences by research fellows based on their research works and based on their experimental works. You can get some of the information of your topic in these research papers also. And one more traditional tool is our books. You can search any of the books, you can search the related topic and you can search the information about your topic in these books. You can go to any library, you can take out any of the book of your topic and then you can search the information in that book. And recently, this is one platform, that is digital library. This is a recently emerging platform. You can access any of the book of any of the library through this digital library. You can access the book, you can read the book and you can collect the information about the topic that you have already selected. And now we will discuss method for conducting these graded activities. What is the method that has to be followed by the student in order to conducting in this graded activity, that is information search and data collection. Here the student should individually select the topic and search the information related to the topic. There are number of topics suggested in your syllabus. You can go through those topics. You need not select the topic which is provided or which is suggested in your syllabus only. You can select any of the topic, technical topic of your interest and you can conduct the activity. The report is strictly handwritten. I repeat, the report should be strictly handwritten document to have a knowledge of precise writing and report making based on the data collection. Why it should be a strictly handwritten? Because if it has to be a printed one, then what you will do, you will simply go to some website and you copy the information and just you will paste it. Nothing you will do, just copy paste you will do that. So that's why they have kept it as strictly handwritten document. Be careful, the report should be strictly handwritten. And then carry out the classroom presentation. Remember, presenting a certain thing is different and collecting the information is different. You have collected so many information related to your topic, but you don't know how to present the information, then that is same as not knowing anything about the topic. You have to present the information that you have collected. You can select any of the topic which is relevant or which is helpful to your project work in the current semester. That is better, because if you select a topic that is helpful to your project work, then you will feel easier in your project work also. So for example, I will select one example to show you how to collect the data. I have selected one topic called modern engineering materials. Now if I want to collect the data or information about this, that is my topic is modern engineering material. As I have already told you, there are many tools. We have web search engines, we have digital libraries, we have technical magazines, we have what you call research papers, all those things we have. First I will tell you how to search the information in any web search engine. So you need to go to any of the web search engine. Here you type your topic, that is modern engineering materials. Then it will show you a number of websites containing the information about your topic. Any of the topic, you can take any of the topic, you just type the topic here in web search engine. I have typed the topic in Google search engine. Need not be a Google search engine, you can go to any of the search engine and you can type. It will give you so many websites containing the information. You can go to any website. You can go to any website and you can collect the information. Say, I will go to this one, modern engineering materials. We will see what the information available in this website. You can go to any of the website, no problem. See here, course title, modern engineering material. It has taken to some syllabus. I will go back. You can go any of the website and you can collect the information. Also you can get the videos in YouTube. You can get the videos pertaining this modern engineering materials. Coming to our presentation. After selecting the modern engineering material topic, I will ask myself what are engineering materials, type of modern engineering materials, their specification, their applications, their innovations in their field, manufacturers and manufacturer specification and ratings. As I have already told you, there are many tools and you can go to any of the tools and you can search it. You can go to any of the web search engine. Also you can go to YouTube. You can search in YouTube also. There are so many videos available about any of the technical topic and you can listen or you can watch those YouTube videos and you can collect the information about your topic. So I have collected some information and I am going to present it. This is a presentation. Report is different. You have to make a report of handwritten document. This is presentation. In presentation, you have to prepare a PowerPoint presentation containing 15 to 20 slides about the topic. You have already collected the information and you have to put those information in the form of PowerPoint presentation. So first slide you have to put your topic, modern engineering material, and then you have to put your name and class and your institution name. Next you should go and introduce and you have to flow a chart like introduction and all those things. I will define the engineering material. Solid substances from which useful articles are made by manufacturing process are known as engineering materials. Next is type of engineering materials. We have two types in engineering materials. One is natural materials. Natural materials occurs in nature and are used directly as found in nature and they needs no cleaning, only are cut to sizes. For example, stone, wood, cotton, leather, etc. And the other type is extracted materials. These are found in chemically combined form with other materials. These needs to be extracted from some chemical process. For example, metals, plastics, rubber and composites. So we will discuss what are the required properties of materials that are for engineering. What are the required properties of a material? The material should be light in weight, that is density has to be as low as possible. It has corrosion resistance, it has to be flexibility in design, high specific strength, better fatigue length, better fatigue life, lower manufacturing cost and other desirable mechanical properties. These are the required properties of material for engineering. So we have classified engineering materials into metals and non-metals. These metals you have already come across, ferrous and non-ferrous metals. These are the most used metals or engineering materials nowadays. Non-metals, coming to non-metals, we have organic materials and non-organic materials. Organic materials includes polymers, rubber, etc. Inorganic materials includes ceramics, graphics and glasses. And one more thing we have, combination of these materials known as composites. Nowadays this field is grabbing the attention of all researchers because these are the emerging newer engineering materials having both the properties of metals and as well plastics. These are emerging in engineering field, that too in mechanical engineering field. We will see. What are the modern engineering materials? I am going to discuss about 2-3 modern engineering materials. The first one is metallic glass. This is what the metallic glass looks like. It is basically an alloy. As the name implies, a metallic glass is a transparent like glass. You are going to see how it looks. See, this is like it looks. It looks like a mirror. You can use that as a mirror. It is a thin metallic foil and it is very much transparent. You can use this like a mirror. See, the thickness is very small. It is very transparent. You can see how it looks like. The metallic glass is also an amorphous metal. Generally, metals are crystalline in solid state. Crystalline means that there is a definite arrangement of atoms in the solid state. But metallic glasses are amorphous metals. That means there is no arrangement of metals or there is no arrangement of atoms in solid state. It is the newly developed engineering material. It shares the properties of both metals and alloys. Most of the metals and alloys are crystalline in their solid state. In contrast, a glass is amorphous, that is non-crystalline, brittle and transparent solid. Metallic glasses is an amorphous, brittle and transparent solid metallic material. Usually it is an alloy. Metallic glass is a strong material that is light in weight and it is also has high resistance to corrosion. Metallic glass are materials that can compete with plastics but have metallic properties. Nowadays, we are using more and more plastics. In order to replace the plastics, these metallic glasses will compete with the plastics, and metallic glasses are very good rivals to plastic and metals and ceramics. There are several ways in which amorphous metals can be produced, including extremely rapid cooling, physical vapor deposition, solid state reaction, ion eradication and mechanical alloying. Here we need to produce a amorphous metal or metal alloy because metal has to be amorphous in solid state, then only it will become a metallic glass. That means it will get both the properties of metal and plastic. I have one video how to produce this metallic glass. Let us see that, or let us watch that video. This can be produced by rapid quench machine system. How it works, we will see. A rapid quench machine system, this device can quickly cool the material. See here, the process is we have to cool the molten metal very quickly. Then only you will get the metallic metal. Because when you quickly cool the metal, then the atoms will not get the time to rearrange themselves. Then there will not be any definite structure of the atoms and the metal becomes amorphous or the metal becomes a metallic glass. This is how external look of this machine. This is the principle how to produce a metallic glass. Here you have to melt the material in a crucible and spray the melted material against the high speed rotating drum. A molten metal sticks to this surface of the rotating drum and it will be cooled rapidly. The cooled metal is peeled off here in this surface. As soon as the molten metal falls on this, and the drum will be spinning at a very high speed, and this metal will be peeled off here in this stage. Since the material can be melted in arbitrary inert gas atmosphere, finished product can avoid from being oxidized and the material can be melted. In experiment, you have to take some of the metals, put the metal into a crucible and melt the material with high frequency induction heating coil. Here we are melting the material with a high frequency induction heating coil. After melting, here we are pouring the molten metal onto the rotating drum. As the drum rotates, this will be cooled off in a non-oxidizing environment, that is inert gas environment, and this will be peeled off in this here in this part. See, slow motion. Here, quick cooled off metal peels off. And this is how a melt solid metallic glass looks like. See, you can bend it like anything. Folding, you can fold it. You can make amorphous tape by using a dedicated material. It is a white tape. See, it is transparent. You can use this as a mirror also. So that is the process of producing metallic glass. Metallic glasses are of two types based on their material used for preparation. One is metal to metal glasses. Example, nickel, niobium, magnesium, zinc and copper and zirconium. These are the alloys. Based on these alloys, we can produce metal to metal glasses. Another one, metal to metalloid glasses. Here, transition metals like iron, cobalt, nickel and metalloids like bismuth, silicon, carbon and phosphorus are used. A metalloid is a type of chemical element which has properties in between or that are mixture of those metals and non-metals. A metalloid which is having properties of both metal and non-metal, which is combined with a metal in order to prepare a metal to metalloid metallic glass. We will discuss the properties of metallic glasses. As I have already told you, the strength of metallic glass are very high, nearly twice that of stainless steel, and they are lighter in weight. This is the requirement for an engineering field. They are ductile, malleable, brittle and the hardness is very high. Their toughness is very high and that is fracture resistance is very high. They have high elasticity, that is yield strength is very high. They have high corrosion resistance also. They do not contain any crystalline defects like point defects, dislocation, stacking faults, etc. They are soft magnetic materials. As the result, easy magnetization and demagnetization is possible. We will see the application where we are going to use these metallic glasses. Metallic glasses are used as transformer core material in high power transformers. See here, high power transformers, you can use this as a core material. Why? Because these are having lighter in weight. Nowadays we are using a core material, they are having heavy weights. If you have seen, the weight of a transformer is very much high because of this core material only. If you have a lightweight material, then you can feel the weight of the transformer. Compared to conventional transformers, the power transformers with metallic glasses are as a core is found to help in reducing the core losses also and lesser in weight. They are lesser in weight. Next, due to nearly zero temperature coefficient of expansion, the metallic glasses are used in the production of cryothermostats and magnetoresistive sensors. Due to the quality of irradiation, the metallic glasses are used in containers for radioactive disposal. The metallic glasses are used to make magnets, which are used in elevated trains as the medium of transportation. These materials are used in the preparation of magnets for fusion reactors and magnets for elevated trains. The metallic glasses can also be used for making watch cases to replace nickel and other metals, which can cause us allergic reactions. These are the fields where we can use these metallic glasses. The next modern material in engineering field is biomaterials. The materials with novel chemical and physical, mechanical or intelligent properties produced through process that mimic the biological phenomena are known as biomaterials. These are the materials which can mimic biological phenomenon. So these are the biomaterials that we are using nowadays. Biomaterials are those which interact with the native tissues, organs of human body, and then they mimic the biological phenomena. Biomaterials have recently attracted a lot of attention due to the potential application in replacing major components and systems in a living organism. Need for biomaterials. Why we need biomaterials? As I have already told you, these can mimic the biological phenomena. So the need for biomaterials stems from an inability to treat many diseases, injuries and conditions with other therapies or procedures. Replacement of body part that has lost function. Because biomaterials can mimic the biological organs, then we can replace the part that has lost the function of our body. For example, total hip or heart we can replace. And correct the abnormalities. That is, if there is any abnormality within you, you can correct using these biomaterials. And also, you can improve the functions of your organs. For example, to improve the function of heart, we have pacemaker. To improve the function of blood vessels, we have stent. And also assist in healing, structural and pharmaceutical effects, drug release. For this, we need biomaterials. The functions of biomaterial. What the function that they are going to do in our human body? Load transmission, they will do load transmission. They will take care of stress distribution. They will take care of light transmission, sound transmission and control of blood flow. All these things are carried out by these biomaterials. A material is said to be biocompatible if it does not undergo a degradation in its properties within the environment of body and does not cause adverse function. This is very much important. A biomaterial should not degrade or should not undergo a degradation when it is installed in our human body. And also, it should not cause any adverse function. That means once if you have installed in your body, it should not cause any adverse function, that is irritation or something like that. Classification of biomaterials. Coming to classification, we have naturally derived biomaterials, semi-synthetic biomaterial and synthetic biomaterial. In the synthetic biomaterial, we have metals and alloys, polymers, ceramics and composites. We will see what natural biomaterials are. These are the materials which are derived from living things itself, that is from plants, animals. For example, collagen, keratin, cellulose and chitin. They offer several advantages like preventing risk of toxicity, which is the problem arising in case of synthetic implants. These are obtained from naturally living things. So as a result, this will not give any adverse effect. There is no risk of toxicity, which is the problem with the synthetic implants. Synthetic biomaterials. These are the synthetic biomaterials which we are using as implants in our human bodies. See, polymers. We are using polymers for drug delivery devices, and we are using metals for orthopedic implantations, and we are using ceramics in bone replacement, in heart valves replacement, in dental implantation. Here we are using this ceramics. And semiconductor materials, this also we are using as biosensors. These are the 4 synthetic biomaterials we are using very in our human body. See, stent, you might have heard of a stent. This is used to improve the functioning of blood vessel. It is a tiny tube your doctor can insert into a blocked passageway. Say like this, if your blood vessel is blocked, then you have to clear that block. If the blood vessel is blocked, then it will result in cardiac arrest. So before that, you have to clear that block. In order to clear that block, a synthetic biomaterial, that is a stent, it's a tiny tube that your doctor can insert into your blocked passageway to keep it open. The stent restores the flow of blood and other fluids. Another one is polylactic acid. Polylactic acid, it is a polymer most commonly used for the production of bioabsorbable stents. Metallic material stent encompasses nitinol, stainless steel and other metallic alloys. But this polylactic acid is a polymer which is most commonly used for the production of bioabsorbable stent. The mechanical heart for valve. You can have a mechanical valve. You can replace the valve of a heart. If it is malfunctioning, then you can replace that valve with a valve made up of this biomaterial. You can also replace our knee joint. Because of aging, your pain will be increased in the knee and it is worn out. If once it has worn out, the knee will start malfunctioning. So in order to avoid pain in the knee, you can replace that with a biomaterial. And also you can replace the thigh joint and also wrist joints. So these are the biomaterials composed of stainless steel, cobalt or chromium alloys, titanium and titanium alloys, tantalum, polyethylene and zirconium. These are the biomaterials that you can use in order to replace the parts in your body. Modern materials for automotive industry. So far we have seen modern engineering materials which are useful in order to replace our worn out human body parts. Let us see what are the modern materials for automotive industry. Automotive is one of the largest consumer of construction material in the world. You know, automotive industry is one of the largest consumer of the construction material in the world. Increasing the durability and reliability of the work of the parts of vehicle is challenging task nowadays. We have to increase the durability of the vehicle. The performance of the cars is constantly improving because of the engines become more efficient, the body is more aerodynamic and the transmission is improved. The rolling resistance of the tire has to be reduced. When creating a car, it is very important to reduce its mass. This allows maintaining the basic characteristics of the car using less powerful engines that consume less fuel and emit less harmful substances into the atmosphere. In addition, the inertia of the car decreases and for its acceleration or braking, it is necessary to spend less energy. Lowering the weight of the car also reduces the load on the suspension parts, which increases their lifespan. Current materials used in automobile. What are the materials that we are using currently? This shows the distribution of current materials which are in use in the automotive field. You can see cast iron and steel. We are using about 55% and they are having more density. They are strong, okay, but density also more. Here in this area we need to concentrate. We need to replace this cast iron and steel with a material which is having the same strength but the density lesser density. And these are the other materials. Aluminium we use 9%, plastics we are using 11%, rubber 7%, glass 3%, and others non-ferrous alloys 1%. This is the area you need to concentrate. The requirement for materials for the manufacturer of automobile bodies, they should have high strength, high energy intensity, that is ability to absorb impact energy when there is a collision, and they should have easy manufacturability, the possibility of manufacturing parts of a complex from with a minimum number of operation. Minimum core body weight, that means we need to reduce the density. The smaller the mass, the lesser the gas flow and the number of tangential emission. Corrosion resistance, it should have the part which you are using in a vehicle should be having corrosion resistance. So we will think, why can't we switch over material? I have shown you that we are using traditionally what is the percentage of cast iron and stainless steel in the automotive industry. Why can't we switch over that? That means replacing material of high specific weight with lower density materials without reducing the desired rigidity and durability. For example, replacement of steel with aluminium or magnesium or composites and foams. Optimizing the design of load carrying elements and exterior attachment to reduce their weight without any loss in rigidity or functionality. So for this we have some modern engineering materials in order to replace the traditionally used material in automotive field. See, we are traditionally using this ferrous metals, but we can replace those ferrous metals with these non-ferrous materials, aluminium, copper, and also you can replace with plastic, polypropylene or acrylic. And recently you can have these composites, fiberglass, carbon fiber. With these you can replace. See, this is one composite material, and this is also a equal to TMT bars. You have seen TMT bars like that. This is a composite material having all the properties of a ferrous metal but lesser in weight. If you can produce a bicycle with these, it will be of this weight. Even a small kid can lift it. But it is having all the properties, all the strength, all the stiffness, same as a metallic bicycle. But the density is reduced and the weight is reduced. A composite is a structural material that consists of two or more combined constituents that are combined at macroscopic level and are not soluble in each other. This is what a composite material, which is having lighter weight and more strength. Two materials in which one of the material is called a reinforcing phase. It is in the form of fibers, sheets or particles, and it is embedded in the material called the matrix phase. The reinforcing material and the matrix material can be a metal or a ceramic or polymer. Composites are used because their overall properties of the composites are superior than those of individual components. For this collection of information, I have referred some of the websites and I have referred some of the magazines, and also I have gone through some web search engines that I have to put in my PowerPoint presentation. You too have put the references in your PowerPoint presentation. This is an example PowerPoint presentation that I have shown you how to conduct this first activity, that is information search and collection of data. After this, after collection of your data pertaining to your topic, you have to prepare a PowerPoint presentation on the selected topic and present it in the classroom. Remember, I have already told you that collecting the data is different and presenting it in an effective way is different. try to put the information in a form of a PPT and present it among your friends. So let us recap what we have learnt in this first activity. In this activity, I have given you some information about how to conduct this first activity, that is information search and data collection. This is an activity that you have to perform yourself. You have to search for a topic and you have to select a topic and you have to select the topic that is helpful for your project work in the current semester, which is easier. After selecting, you have to search the information and you have to collect the data. Make a note of that. What are the information available in different web search engines? What are the information available in different magazines? Or what are the information available in YouTube? Or information available in any of the books? Make a note of those and prepare a handwritten report. The report should be handwritten. You are supposed not to copy and paste the information available in any of the websites. So that is important. And prepare a PowerPoint presentation of 15 to 20 slides and present in the classroom. So this is what about the activity information search and data collection. You have to do this activity yourself. And lastly, I would like to thank all the team which are supported in presenting this activity. Our beloved Commissioner Sir, Shri Pradeep Prabhakar, for his continuous effort and support in preparing this topic. And also our Chairman, Shri M.S. Devraj Sir, and the moderators, Shri Madhu B.V. Sir, and subject expert, Shri Venkata Venuprasad Sir, Malinge Gowda Sir, Malikarjun K. Sir, and myself, Bharat J., and also content developer Shri Vishwanath D. Sir and Venkatesh Sir, who have helped me in presenting this activity. Thank you very much. Thank you, one and all.